me the power, for I could swim Loch Lomond and be home in half an hour. Maybe the air gave me the drive, for I'm all aglow and alive. What a day this has been, what a rare mood I'm in. Why, it's almost like being in love. There's a smile on my face for the whole human race. Why, it's almost like being in love. All the music of life seems to be like a bell that is ringing for me. And from the way that I feel when that bell starts to peal, I would swear I was falling. I could swear I was falling. It's almost like being in love. When we walked up the brae,
not a word did we say. It was almost like being in love. But your arms linked in mine made the world kind of fine.
It was almost like being in love.
All the music of life seems to be
like a bell that is ringing for me. And from the way that I feel when that bell starts to peal,
I would swear I was falling.
I could swear I was falling. It's almost like being in love.
It's all right. I know I look unhinged, but it's fine because I haven't got my glasses on, so I can't really see my face. So it's just you. It's just you. Good afternoon. I'm going to be quick this afternoon. I thought we'd do a little 10 minutes of activism and how you, beautiful people, can actually change the world. So in America, you need to get hold of your Republicans. Every single one of them that's going to be a governor and a Senate, like any position in power whatsoever. And you need to do like Cara Dansky and Leah Keith and Natasha Chart. And all those amazing women did years ago with myself and Julia Long. And you need to go and give them the great news and the hold fire news, okay? So, American women, this is like you've won something significant. You've got somebody in the White House who will be in the White House, well, if he makes it, telling people that transitioning children is abuse. It's mutilation. He's going to stop it. He's going to allow them to sue. It's really fantastic news. And you're going to get to a place where we are, quite frankly, where we never went that far. We're very proud of ourselves in England that we have got had a government that listened to us. And so you're going to get to our place. And our place is one where some of the people speaking for us, the new ivory tower dwellers, as opposed to the old ivory tower dwellers, the new ivory tower dwellers, what they do is they've compromised and they're talking about accommodating. And I really feel that this is what we're talking about when we talk about the Republicans and Trump. What they're going to do is they're going to do the Caitlyn Jenner, Bruce Jenner, buckle up, buckaroo style of the way they view the whole thing. So it's going to be like, well, if you cut your dick off, if you dressed, even if you are 6'5" and built like a huge bloke, and even if you are really a man, even if all those things are true, if you make enough effort, you're harmless. You're harmless. You can use women's spaces. And I just want you not to take your foot off the gas, because you really have. Someone said Americans are more rebellious. Let me see who said that, because I can't read today. Clandina, I think you're wrong, actually. I think us British women, us English women, let me just correct myself, us English women really have managed to stem the tide on this in a way that potentially no global women have, potentially maybe French or Spanish, but generally speaking, I think us English women are remarkable and we've done a great job. And as a woman who doesn't always act that English, I can say that as if I was an American. So I'm multilingual, if you like. Certainly when it comes to what I will and won't say and how much I'll credit myself. So that's the thing for Americans. So go and see your representatives. Warn them of this thing that the men that call themselves transsexuals, the men that laugh and joke about wearing their daughters' clothes. It's so funny. It's so funny. And let me just remind you, American women, that you can tell the story. You can look up any trans widow story. And what you can do is you can take it in and you can show them, and you can take clips from the Kardashian program, and you can show them all exactly how all of these men behave the same. And often they decide that they can't keep a lid on their fetish anymore once their daughters hit puberty because, oh my God, they're so jealous. So they can't do that. So that's your job, really. Like, you want all of the rest of it pushed over the line. So you certainly want to cover those particular bases, but you definitely want to continue. Now, what Cara Dansky, Natasha Chart, Leah Keith, myself and Julia Long, what we did is we went to see representatives, and you can go to Capitol and you can just knock on the door and you get 3 minutes or whatever to pitch your representative. So that's something that we just don't have over here. We do have access to surgeries and so on. We can go and have guaranteed time with our actual MPs, but in a country so vast, that's the sort of thing you can do. So you really do have quite an active, engaging political system. And what they were doing is they were warning everybody about the Equality Act, how it sounded so great, but actually there was that gender identity thing embedded in it that basically cancelled all women's rights. So those women in the United States, they've been working on this so hard. And Julie and I were really, really lucky that we went and did some of that stuff with them. So that's number one. English people, Scottish people, Welsh people, all you lovely people. Let me just say, I can hear gravel. Let me just say some things you can do. You can look up your school policies. Now these are things that you must do. You can look up your National Health Trust policies. And I guarantee to you there will be quite a few people that have been cancelled from their doctor's surgery. And so you need to have a look at that. That's something that you can access. You need to have a look at your local police service. You need to have a look at all the different places where you have any institution or body or whatever. Have a look at community nursing guides. Have a look at what happens to the elderly in their own homes. Have a look at what happens in care homes. All these places you can begin to make a really good picture so you can go and see your MP and you have concrete examples. Now, often, if you use women, adult women, as your examples, MPs don't give a shit, genuinely don't care. If you talk about sport, they can fob you off. As sporting bodies deal with that, that's nothing they can get involved in. What they can get involved in, and I said this yesterday and I'm going to say it again today, men, this is what you have to do. I'm not saying women shouldn't do it. I'm just saying, men, this is really what you have to do, because you're the ones that make a difference here. Your voices are different to ours. He's a man! They carry differently. They stay calm. You do have a different disposition to most of us. A lot of women, when we're fobbed off, we get frustrated, and that might make us angry, or that might make us sound upset. Men just don't do that. They don't care. And so, like, I would just implore you, please, if you care about this issue at all, and you are a man, then I do think that you need to be speaking about it. So the things that you can go and do, you can advocate for your children, and I would implore you to do that. You can advocate for your female relatives, like wherever they go, even if it's the gym. and your wife is just fed up that every time she goes to the gym, there's a guy, blah, blah, blah. You can go and make that complaint. It's very, very odd. It's the same as, like, women will tell you, I'll tell you. A man could try and hit on me. Doesn't happen that often anymore because I'm 50. But a man can try and hit on me. And if I say, and it happened only a few years ago, a couple of years ago, and if I say I'm Mrs. whatever, that's very different than I'm not interested. I'm not interested is you're frigid. You're a, who do you think you are? You think you're too good for me. You're a slag. You're a lesbian. Those are the sort of things that might be said to me. If I say I'm Mrs. Minshall, oh, I'm not interested in what's your name? I'm Mrs. Minshall. Oh, sorry, love. Right? Or if my husband was there and he said, she's Mrs. Minshall. So if your husband comes in with a, she's already owned, mate, then those men do back off. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about this seriousness that people take from men. That's both women and men. I was talking about teachers earlier, and I was saying, like, the difference. I did a tweet, and there is a stark contrast between the schools that I went to and the schools that exist now. And I'll admit there's been a societal shift, but also there's something bizarre about the lack of professionalism with teachers. I was positing the question: is it that teachers now go to university and they don't go to teaching colleges, and they don't sort of learn so much on the job, and children aren't told to say no, and there's this weird thing about discipline and so on. But teachers don't wear such professional attire. They don't behave in a professional manner. And I was also saying at my infant school, there were no men. The only man there was like a janitor type, you know, a guy that came around and fixed stuff. But we had Miss Howlett, who would clean all the windows. So all the windows of the classroom were like those little kind of rectangles, and you would see her and cleaning with a cloth. You'd see her clean the windows. She was so lovely. My head teacher was Miss Lush. My first teacher was Miss Wyatt. Then there was Mrs. Robin, and then I had Miss Pike. And they were all, you just wouldn't mess with them. And then I had Mrs. Rentmore. Then I had Mrs. Rosser. Then I had Mr. Woods, and then I had Mr. Caddy. So there were male teachers at my primary school, but they were really male. And they were really well dressed. And one of them was a little bit bitchy and not very nice. But most of them, there was just, you just felt something about them. And I said that I felt that it was that feminized men, now I don't mean effeminate, I mean feminized. I mean not alpha males. I mean the sort of man that wants to work with small children, right? Feminized males are particularly toxic in a predominantly female environment. And I'm going to tell you why. It's just a theory, but it's my theory. Well, I think it's my theory. I'm sure it's probably been said before if it's actually right. But they become these sneaky fucker men, right? Now, sneaky fucker men are the sort of men that kind of adopt female mannerisms, or, well, not even mannerisms, but they fit into female spaces, right? And they do that in order to get past other men. And then what happens is they become the king of those bloody spaces because women totally simp for those men. And those men manage without any reason whatsoever, no experience, they're not more intelligent, they're not better at teaching, but without any reason whatsoever, those men climb very, very quickly to the top of that particular hierarchy. So I think more than them sneaking like their sneaky fucker past other men that they compete with, I think actually they understand that there is a hierarchy within that place where they can get through it really, really quickly, because who will put them there? Women will put them there. So that's just what I'm talking about when I talk about feminized men. So feminized men in the education system, is that what happened? Is it that we sort of basically said that they had to, like, everyone had to be reasonable? Somebody talked about it earlier, a woman who I much admire, I can't remember, on Twitter, and she said, you know, it's the centering the child's feelings all the time, the egocentric child, the world kind of, children don't have to fit in with us, we have to fit in with them. So there's just so many places with this particular ideology of these particular men, these nerdy beta males that manage to get into women's spaces, and they have the toxicity of the very worst of women, and that they're very, very mediocre men, and they are given positions of influence. And I wonder if that's something to do with it. And I'm not letting a single woman, a single dishonest, lying, virtue signaling woman off the hook when it comes to their part, their overwhelmingly large part that they've played in the grooming of our children. Anyway, that's your activism. Men, you do it better than us. When it comes, you'll just listen to better than us. I mean, I'm pretty great, and I'm not going to say that I'm not wonderful. When it comes to very calm, direct, challenging conversations, I'm very, very good at it. But I'm not going to say that that's something that is a female attribute. Often women get quite cross because they are dismissed and not listened to. And I totally understand that. But men, if you want something to do, that's what you need to do. So everywhere where men are taking the place of women is where you need to be activists. And if you do that, then I promise we will win. If you can keep speaking the truth, even though sometimes it's really bloody annoying, then I promise we will win. And do you know why else we're going to win? Well, because I never lose.
Maybe the face I can't forget, a trace of pleasure.